on, guys? I'm going to be changing today here at my 95 Toyota pickup, regular pickup. In other countries they call it a Hilux. It's just a Toyota truck. I'm going to be changing out my intake manifold gasket because I'm just changing it out not because it needs it. It's the between the upper and lower intake manifold. Changing that out because I'm actually going to be removing it. The old one, I'm expecting it to rip and break because it's pretty old. So I just have another one standing by just in case. It's the only reason why I'm changing that. My injectors, 2 of them are failing. One is pretty bad. And I have some upgrade. Their injector upgrades. They're 4-hole injectors instead of 3-hole injectors that flow a little bit better, apparently. Not too much where the computer can't compensate for it. But changing those out, and they come with a different little connector. I don't know why. If it doesn't work, I'm hoping they do. They're remanufactured, and they're eBay. So I don't know. I'm hoping they work great. If not, then I'm pull them off, send them back. But I'm changing those out, and my valve cover gasket has needed it for a long time. So I've got my little GoPro set up here with my high-tech clips holding it on. Just gonna time lapse the whole thing. So I try to put music to it so it's not boring for you guys. But this one's not gonna be an instructional. It's gonna be my first attempt at like time lapse or stop motion, whatever you want to call it. Time lapse mechanics work. Anyway, the V6, also called, well, it's the V6 is the engine. It's the engine family is 3VZ, 5VZ, and the newer Toyota trucks. If you're looking at a 95 and up Tacoma and you're watching this video, that's not what this truck is. It's the same process as the V6 4Runners, early 90s V6 4Runners. It's got the same engine, the 3.0 liter 3VZE. The newer Tacoma, well, not newer, but the ones after, the Tacomas that came out after this have the 5VZE. It's going to be a different process. Intake manifold's different. The and it doesn't have spark plug wires. It actually has individual coils on each one of the cylinders. But here's the parts: valve cover gasket, injectors, the little mini harnesses that go between. It's the only reason I'm kind of cautious to put these injectors in. I guess we'll see what happens, but I read some reviews on the forums, the guys that have put them in, and they just, they said that's awesome. They're just doing it to upgrade. And then there's my intake manifold gasket that goes between. It's not the one that goes between the left and right banks and the on the block, on the head, I mean. They go between the upper plenum and the lower, so the upper manifold, lower manifold. But gotta take all this stuff off. You'll see, and it's, from what I can tell, I don't have a book to go by, so I'm just kind of going off of his experience. But I haven't taken this off. I've got all these little bolts that bolt it down, it looks like. So anyway, watch, enjoy. I'm just gonna be, time lapsing it up. So yeah, just, I don't know, hang in there. Alright, so I got the manifold loose and stopped the time lapse thing. Everything that I had to disconnect really quick. There's 4 long bolts that go through the top. It's these long ones here. They're like 4 inches long, maybe. Like 4 inches long. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there are also 4 others. So there's 2 studs that stick through. There's one back here. Or sorry, one in the front of the engine. And there's one in the back of the engine. There's a nut on top of the stud, all 12 millimeter. And then there is this little guy. These last ones that go through. It's a star in the middle, 12 mil on the outside. And that's underneath this bracket that I had to loosen up. I'm trying to keep as many vacuum lines connected as possible because I don't want to have to reconnect them. I don't want to have to. I've traced out vacuum diagrams before trying to do all of this. I don't want to do it on this. I just want to get this finished as simple as possible. You have the 2 coolant lines that go into and out of the throttle body here. So this one on the back, it's on the bottom. I had to lift up the manifold a little bit, so I waited until I get this one off last. So I just held it up with one hand, put my fist underneath, and kind of had enough space to work with it, to work on it with the pliers. And this one I connected from in front of the fuel pump regulator, fuel pressure regulator, right here. Disconnected the fuel line here. This is the return. Or wait, no. Why does that have that? I think that's vacuum. Anyway, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I disconnected this. So a little bit of fuel came out. So the fuel goes in here and comes out there, or vice versa. I'm not sure on this truck actually. And that might go over to so I'm trying to figure this out right now. No. Anyway, moving on. Had to disconnect this. This is the what do you call it? The idle idle up injector. It just comes on whenever you start the car. This is fine. I'm not replacing that. But that's the 7th injector. The other ones are under here, under the fuel rail. If you just want to test them, you got to go through all this process just to test them. And let's see. So what else did I do? I disconnected these. These 2 hoses are here. I have the cardboard over the battery so I don't arc on it. I don't want to take the battery cables off, even though everybody says to take them off. I never do. Disconnected most of these hoses over here. You're going to have to mark which one goes where because some of these are the same sizes. You got the send and return vacuum line for the power steering pump. And then you have the brake booster. Or sorry, power steering. What am I talking about? But all these little vacuum lines, disconnect those, mark which one goes where. I had to take the clip off of this, and it's brittle plastic. It kind of cracked a little bit just working with it, so I was really careful. Should be able to still use it. And look how clean that is. That is, you can eat off of that. That's awesome. Not really. If you don't know, that's very dirty. I'm going to clean that off. What else? Oh, I loosened this. When I measured it, it said 30 millimeter was the wrench that I needed. I don't have a 30 millimeter, so I used my crescent. Got it loose. I sprayed some of the penetrant, not WD-40. WD-40 is completely useless. This stuff is pretty good. This or a PB blaster, so it needs like a yellow can, yellow cap. So that stuff doesn't have a blue cap. It's got like a black cap or something. That's a spray paint cap. I lost it a long time ago. Took these little spark plug wires off of the little clips that hold them. I didn't take the plugs out. I just took them out of the clips. And this bracket, I think I mentioned that, has 2 12 millimeter bolts holding it in. This grounding point here, unclipped that. And here, I have the throttle cable. It wraps around, goes under that clip. under this clip, and then it's held into that bracket. That's pretty much it. There's two of the what I mentioned these that go on either side of the throttle body. They don't go into the throttle body, they go down, but they're on the side of the throttle body. They have the star pattern in the middle, 12mm on the outside. There's one there, they're both on the inside of these two studs that are on the right, on our right, my right and your right, considering this video isn't flipped over. In which case it would be your left, but if the words are straight, it's on your right. 1, 2, 3, 4 long ones, and that's everything that holds it in aside from the hoses. I disconnected here at the EGR because it's an easier disconnect point, and I also disconnected the sensor. And on the back, so that I wouldn't crush the plug, I disconnected that throttle position sensor, the electrical connector that goes onto that. This is all stuff I'm going to have to reconnect back, and if you're following this, then you should have to reconnect them back too. But right now, I'm going to find something to tie the manifold up and to suspend it from the hood, so that I just have it held up, because there's still this big fat line on the back. I'm not sure what it is actually. Maybe crankcase breather, but there's still a big hose that goes in on the back here. If you put your hand in the back, you feel it. You feel the clip. I don't want to disconnect that. It feels like it's the last thing that's holding it in. But I'm just gonna leave it on there. It's happy where it's at. So one less thing to risk messing up. So I'm just gonna get some kind of wire and tie this up here to my roof. I took off my insulation. So if you take off your insulation, you have all these little things. I should have left it on actually. That way a battery acid that came out wouldn't have done that. It would have just messed up my insulation. But anyway, that's this. That's it. Remember where all this stuff goes. I'm gonna start the time lapse thing back again. But yeah, remember all this stuff. I'm probably gonna keep it going if I have enough video left on the GoPro while I'm tightening everything back down. So. What's up, guys? I ran out of space on my GoPro, so I had to go and clean it off and come back. But while I was gone, so loosened all the little nuts, or while the video was off, I should say. I loosened all the little nuts that were around the valve cover on that side and this side. Cleaned off the surface areas where there was some RTV sealant around these old gaskets, and I'm just about to put the new gaskets on. Took off the injector clips, just getting ready to put the other ones on, and all of these little releases, all of them weren't bending until they broke, pretty much. So I had to break all the little snaps on that. But there's little pigtails that came with the new injectors, so I plugged the pigtail in here, and then it goes onto the injector. So I'm just gonna, when I plug the pigtail in, I'm gonna wrap it with some electrical tape, and it should hold it in there good enough. I don't want the vibration to make it come loose, and then I've got to misfire, and I've got to pull the intake manifold off just to get to this clip. It's ridiculous. It's not a design flaw, it's just V6. I also loosened these 12mm nuts here, and I had to take this off, the little vacuum line that goes to that little water temperature vacuum thing. It has to do with the EGR valve. It's a little plastic. You don't want to break these clips off, so I didn't touch that back here and loosening up off that clips off that side. I loosened it up here, but the fuel comes in here, and then it goes between this fuel rail and this fuel rail by this by the lines, so I don't have to disconnect this. And I should just be able to pick this up. It's still connected back here, that little line, and this line is still going to that 7th injector, that idle injector, the whatever, when you first crank it up, idle up injector or whatever you call it, booster injector, I forget the word for it. So with these loose, I can lift this up, change out the injectors, and then I'll be putting this back together. It was a little hard to get this intake manifold, this is an intake, it was a little hard to get this valve cover off. It's sitting under the edge of this harness. There's a 10mm bolt here and here that's holding it in, but once those are loose, you can actually, you got to wiggle it and work with it. But if it feels like it's not coming out, look for more little 10mm bolts, because that's what I was doing. I felt like, well, it's not coming out, why isn't it coming out? And there's little hidden 10mm bolts. None of them are bolted in on the side. They're all bolted in when you look straight down. So you got to look for those. If you look at the holes, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 10 altogether. 5 on each side for this valve cover, and 5 on each side for this valve cover. So, oh wait, sorry, 5 on each side, and then 1 in the middle on this one, and 1 in the middle on that one. So makes 11 on each one. That's it. I'm just gonna change out the injectors, and I'm gonna start the little time-lapse thing again, and hope this time-lapse thing is working out. I'm gonna preview how it is later and see if it's a good idea or not. So